Well, a mixed bag of both good and bad news as the Denver Broncos prepare for the Indianapolis Colts coming to town in just a few days. We get injury news about our team, about our opponent, about another team vying for that 5th seed in the NFL playoffs. We got a ton to break down, how Sean Payton treated the bye week and who we learned this strategy from. We're going to break it all down in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, closing in on 18,000 subs, which is mind-blowing, and it helps me out and the algorithm out a lot if you would hit that like and subscribe button. Let's dive in. So we have the Indianapolis Colts coming to town in what's pretty much the biggest game we've had at Mile High in a long time. With a win, the Denver Broncos would have a 90% chance of making the playoffs. First time in 8 years. With a loss, that drops down, and it's harder to control our destiny with 3 really difficult games coming up after that. But we are playing a quarterback who is not good at throwing the ball. When he eclipses the 50% completion percentage, it's a fantastic day for him. Since he has been benched, and we're talking about Anthony Richardson, he's only eclipsed throwing the ball greater than 50% accurate with greater than 50% accuracy one time, and that was against the New England Patriots, who are not a fantastic defense. So this defense should be able to just capitalize and stop Anthony Richardson. I do not believe he can beat us through the air, even without the services of our second best corner, our great white hope, Riley Moss, and it looks like we are going to be without him. So the bad news in our good and bad news scenario here is that Riley Moss stretched with the team, so at least he was out there. Last week he wasn't even really seen on the sideline, so at least he was out there, which hopefully we got 2 games now in the next 11 days. We play Sunday, and then we quick turn around right to the Los Angeles Chargers there. So hopefully we will start to see him participating more and more, but he did not participate in any one-on-one drills or any team drills. All he did was stretch with the team, and he was wearing a sleeve over that injured knee. So definitely that is bad news. I would say the good news, one of the things that as we were watching that game unfold, you saw a lot of Devon Key out there as our safety. And Brandon Jones, I've been insanely impressed. He was the one who we signed from Miami to fill in for Justin Simmons and has done a phenomenal job of that, creating turnovers, recovering fumbles, interceptions. I've loved how he stopped the run, all of that. Well, he left that Browns game on Monday night with a groin injury. He was back at practice, and we have not seen the official injury report. Practice is just wrapping up right now as I record this, but seeing him out there is a very good sign that I think we'll have him back. And really, this is a fantastic matchup for your Denver Broncos defense. We have not let anyone run on us all year, and I do not think that starts this week with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson. And if we stop the run, this is a game over, and we're talking about all right, let's fight for that 5 seed instead of just let's back into the playoffs. We're talking about let's go get that 5 seed. So that's absolutely phenomenal news to see. Brandon Jones is back. I also think with Vance Joseph having an entire week off to plan and to look at film and to decide what to do with Levi Wallace or Damari Mathis or Chris Abrams-Drain, I think he's going to have a plan, and I think that plan is going to be Chris Abrams-Drain. We heard earlier in the week Sean Payton talk about how impressed he was with Chris Abrams-Drain getting stronger, and that was the big knock against him was he's a smaller dude, and he is getting stronger. And so then Sean Payton praised his intelligence, and so I think we'll see a lot of him if Riley Moss indeed is unable to go, but who knows? It's still very early in the week for that. Sean Payton talked about the fact that he's not shying away from talking about the playoffs with this team. I think a lot of coaches will be like, oh, we just talk about this next week in front of us, but Sean Payton is definitely not the type of coach who players don't know where he's at. Like, he is authentic with the players, and he's a player's coach, yet an authoritarian, toe-the-line coach, and that's why we love him. And he talked about in his press conference today how he uses that to motivate players like, hey, we're going to get in the playoffs, and it's going to happen. So that was cool to hear. On the other side, the good news here is Brandon Jones was back. The other good news was just looking at the Indianapolis Colts are also extremely banged up as well. They had multiple offensive linemen who were hurt before the bye week, and several of them were cleared to return from IR, but just because they were designated to return, as we saw with Drew Sanders, doesn't mean they necessarily will. And so we have multiple offensive linemen who are still questionable moving forward, and they will be without their right tackle who is not expected to play because of personal reasons, whatever that might be. So you're talking Jonathan Cooper on the outside against, or Nick Bonito on the outside, or Jonah Ellis on the outside against a backup. Absolutely phenomenal. Truly, if you take a look at like the strengths of this Colts team and the strengths of the Broncos team, I think we have a better quarterback. We have a better coach. We match up against their strengths. So their strengths really, they got Nelson, that inside, that guard, probably one of the best in the league of their offensive linemen. Well, we got Zach Allen, one of the best defensive linemen at that opposite position. And then you look the other side there, it's like, yeah, they got DeForest Buckner, but blocking DeForest Buckner is going to be Quinn Miners, who I think is one of the best in the game as well. So it really is strength on strength. And I think those strengths lean towards the Denver Broncos, especially when you say this team hasn't let anyone run the ball on them. And if the Colts can't get the run going, there is no chance they have against us. So that's fantastic. And just looking at their injury report, there are a lot of DNPs or LPs here on this list, and positions that are important to them. Seeing that their starting center was limited with a knee injury, I just think we are in a very, very good shape here, and feel very good about that matchup. Interesting advanced analytic that came out that I just think points towards what the Broncos might want to add. Right? It's incredible to me that this is our new floor. Our new floor is we're going to be in the playoffs every year, but how do we go from being in the playoffs every year to like people are predicting us at the start of the season to win the Super Bowl? And I think it is having a playmaking yard after catch monster. So this is incredible. Like I've been very, very impressed with Courtland Sutton. He's an incredible possession receiver. And he, he's been one of the Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton has been one of the best connections in football over the past 8 weeks. But Courtland Sutton basically like catches a lot of balls as he's fallen to the ground, which is great. He catches them and he gets first downs, or he gets tackled right away. And so if you take a look at it, he's actually one of the worst yard after catch tackle breaker wide receivers in the entire NFL. And you just think of, man, can you imagine if Bo Nix had one of the dudes like up in this quadrant here? You just look at Jamar Chase is almost like popping off the graph here because you get him the ball in space and he's gone. And so it's incredible to me to have Bo Nix in the Rookie of the Year running, knowing that his best option here doesn't really help him out beyond just like a possession receiver. So that's something to keep in mind as we are in the top 10 when it comes to how much money we'll have to throw at free agents, as we'll have all of our draft picks, as we'll have David Shaw hitting the draft scout and finding exactly the right player to pair with Bo Nix, and just thinking, man, someday are we going to be able to see on this list Troy Franklin up here? Are we going to see the likes of A.T. Perry when he gets worked into this offense more? But we definitely need to start seeing some players who are helping Bo by making plays there. Other good news here, and I don't want to be celebrating other teams' injuries, but we know that we are going up against the Chargers for that 5th playoff spot. We don't want just the 7th. We want that 5th or that 6th so that we have a shot at playing Houston or playing the Pittsburgh Steelers rather than going to frigid Buffalo that first week. And the Chargers might be helping us out. So not only is Ladd McConkey hurt and they're out, they're starting running back, we are now seeing that Justin Herbert also missed practice. We saw him take multiple massive hits in that game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And this, that's been the big knock on Herbert all along, is that he is not, he takes unnecessary hits and he's somewhat injury prone. There have been several years here in Denver where we haven't even gotten to play him twice because by the second time we play the Chargers, he's already injured. So something to keep an eye on for sure. And knowing that, man, if he's already banged up now, he's got 2 games in 10 days here facing us on that short Thursday night. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Last thing here was just hearing Sean Payton talk about like his bye week philosophy and how it's changed over time. And he talked about how he learned from Andy Reid and actually gave the players the entire week off, and how that was very different than what he did when he started as a coach. And I just think it's interesting to see just the two sides of Sean Payton, that he is the most authoritarian, old school, hey, we're going to do it this way when it comes to training camp early on in the season. And you heard all of the players talk about how hard a Sean Payton training camp is. But now he's learning from that new school philosophy, and he talked about the bye week used to be all about self-scouting. And so we would crunch film and we would scout against ourselves. And because technology has increased so much and you can use like Amazon Web Service to crunch, hey, here's all of our successful plays out of this formation and out of this formation, all the ones we struggle with. And we get that information instantaneously. In the old school, when Sean Payton used to coach, like it would be him crunching that film and running it with players. And now he's leaned into AI. He's leaned into these new school things to help the team learn as they are going. And so the need to keep the players over the bye week and self-scout isn't there as much. And that's just another reason why thrilled that we have Sean Payton. He's worth every single penny, every single draft pick we gave for him, because the Sean Payton-led Denver Broncos are making the playoffs, and it starts this week with a win against the Indianapolis Colts, and that's something we can all believe in. Woo!